please subscribe to our channel. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, is the newest franchise launched by Zack Snyder and Netflix. From a screenplay by Snyder, Shay Hatten, and Kurt Johnstad, Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder's new epic Netflix space fantasy sets up a new sci-fi universe and ends with a cliffhanger setting up Part 2. At the end of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, Kora and her band of rebels defeats Admiral Noble, but a cliffhanger ending revealing Noble's resurrection sets up for an even bigger battle in the sequel, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, on April 19, 2024. When the Imperium comes to a small farming community on Velt demanding they feed the Imperial war machine, a former Imperial soldier, Kora, seeks warriors who can help her defend her new home from the tyranny of Admiral Noble and Regent Belisarius. After gaining passage from a bounty hunter, Kai, Kora recruits former General Titus, swordfighter Nemesis, warrior Turok, rebel leader Darian Bloodaxe, and rebel fighter Mylius. The new team narrowly escapes the betrayal of Kai, ending in a cliffhanger setup for a massive battle in Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. At the end of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, Kai betrays the team, selling them out to Admiral Noble and the Imperium. Multiple rebel fighters die, but thanks to Gunnar finally finding a spark of courage, many of the team members manage to escape. The betrayal ultimately costs Kai his own life. Like the rest of the rebels they recruit, Kai's planet and people had been devastated by the Imperium, so why did he betray them to Admiral Noble instead of joining them? Even if he wasn't interested in risking his life by taking a stand alongside them, he could have let them fight back on their own. Revenge is a major theme of Rebel Moon, and each of the characters have a very different relationship with it. While Titus only joins the team thanks to the promise of revenge, Nemesis cautions there is a difference between justice and revenge. Kai tells Kora the Imperium devastated his planet, so he has just as much reason to be motivated by either revenge or justice, but his personal trauma has made him a nihilist instead. After the Imperium destroyed his world, his takeaway was never set foot on the wrong side of history. What happened to Jimmy at the end of Rebel Moon? The Jimmies are noble robots created long ago to serve the slain king, but in his absence, they have no purpose and refuse to participate in violence at the behest of any member of the Imperium under Regent Belisarius, even in self-defense. After Kora fights off the Imperium soldiers on Velt, before going to track down the other warriors, Jimmy stays behind. Jimmy isn't seen again after Kora leaves Velt until the very end of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, when he's shown in a wheat field wearing a cloak and elaborate antler headgear without explanation. Jimmy's antler tease is a major setup for Rebel Moon Part 2, A Child of Fire, where Jimmy will have a larger character arc, although it's also an element of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire's cut-down PG-13 version. In the longer R-rated cut set to release on Netflix later this year, Jimmy will have more scenes fleshing out his character arc on Velt and explaining a sort of awakening his character goes through, but without those additional details, the scene at the end of the movie is merely a tease for what comes next in the Rebel Moon sequel. Did Noble really die, and how did he come back to life? After Kai betrayed the team and sold them out to Admiral Noble and the Imperium, Kora defeats Noble and he falls off the platform to the planet below. If it wasn't dead before he fell, he certainly was afterward. Despite his mortal predicament, he's taken back aboard the Imperium dreadnought, the King's Gaze, where he's hooked up to a machine that brings him back to life. The exact nature of what happens to him isn't clear, but Deborah Snyder teased some sort of advanced medical technology during Screen Rant's visit to the Rebel Moon set, and Noble is shown plugging himself into some kind of mysterious device earlier in the movie. While the machine Noble is plugged into is clearly technological in some capacity, there may be more to it than that, as it may also have an ethereal, mystical, or even extra-dimensional property to it. At the start of the movie, an Imperium dreadnought is shown coming through a portal of blue energy that resembles the energy used by the machine to revive Noble. Since the same machine also transports Noble's mind to a sort of astral plane or other dimension where he speaks with Belisarius, it seems like the two technologies may be somehow related. Before Noble is resurrected, he's transported to a frozen lake where he converses with Regent Belisarius. Last time Belisarius was before he became regent of the Imperium. And now he's more than a decade older with a beard. It's not clear where this conversation actually takes place, although it doesn't seem to be an actual physical location, because Noble's body is no longer injured and he's fully clothed. It could be a digital realm like the Matrix, an astral plane, or even an alternate dimension. Wherever it is, Belisarius has a level of control over it, shattering the ice with electricity using his staff and sending Noble back. There's clearly a lot going on with the ice plane. But on a functional level, it could just be a means the Imperium uses to communicate across long distances. The opening of the movie shows the dreadnought coming through a portal featuring similar energy, so there's likely some sort of relationship. Even if it's simply Rebel Moon's alternative to hologram communication, that's only a partial explanation of what's going on, since it seems to also be related to Noble's resurrection, meaning there's a brain-body interface, interstellar travel, and medical application of the technology. Rebel Moon sequel setup explained. Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire ends with a cliffhanger after Kai betrays the team, Darien Bloodaxe, and all his rebels other than Mylius die, and Noble is killed by Kora before being resurrected. Kora's origin flashback revealed she was an important figure in the Imperium army, and Regent Belisarius was like an adoptive father figure to her. Now that her identity is revealed, Belisarius commands Noble to go and retrieve her alive. After she defeats him in hand-to-hand combat, the stakes are even higher, since Noble's conquest against the farming village on Velt is personal. The surviving fighters recruited by Kora, including Gunnar, Nemesis, General Titus, Turok, and Mylius all return to Velt, where Jimmy will also join them. Since the Rebel Moon story is heavily inspired by Seven Samurai, it's pretty clear they're going to train the villagers to defend against a counterattack by Noble and the Imperium in Rebel Moon, Part 2, The Scargiver, although Snyder loves to subvert genre tropes and expectations, so there's still a lot of mysteries to be revealed in the sequel when it releases on Netflix April 19, 2024. So that's Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire ending explained, including every scene that sets up Part 2. I hope you like this video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to this channel. See you in another video. Bye.